learning now, and by penetrating insight into that point. How do you develop penetrating insight? By contemplating on that point again and again and again, and it's this benefits. To think about the this benefits again and again and again and again, to contemplate it, to recondition it, to put it into your mind, and slowly, definitely, promise your afflicted emotions that endanger others and yourself will become less. No doubt. No doubt. Definitely. There are many examples of people like that. Definitely. So, let's take a 5-second break. Please stand up, stretch your legs, and sit down. And be fishing in a few minutes. And the means of negative disposition with suffering, may I hold these rare ones dear, as if I found a precious treasure. What? People that make me suffer, people who are afflicted with emotions, people who are ugly and negative and mean, I've got to hold them dear as a precious treasure. What? What is that crazy monk telling me now? Now he's going to brainwash me into loving my enemies. No, I'm not going to brainwash you. I'm going to give you reasoning behind it. That statement shocks everyone. What? And some of us have a lot of enemies. So we need this. We need to hear it. We need to definitely hear it and practice it. And then when we practice it, the enemies from our point of view disappear. Becomes happier. When I see beings of negative disposition and suffering, may I hold these rare ones dear as if I had found a precious treasure. Incredible. Please allow me to read you the commentary on it, which is just half a page. This verse could also refer to people afflicted with contagious diseases or fatal illnesses. Usually when we encounter people of bad nature, we try to ignore them instead of cherishing them, and we may advise others to stay away from such persons. We especially try to avoid people who are insane or have contagious diseases. We keep our distance from them. Even if somebody has bad body odor, we try to avoid them. We ask ourselves, why do we do that? Why do we want to avoid such types of people? Why? Why do we avoid these types of people? By doing this, we find that we are influenced by self-cherishing self-thoughts. Selfish thoughts, self-cherishing thoughts. We ignore or neglect those people because we hold ourselves too precious to mingle with them, and we fear that our precious self may get contaminated. Geshe Langli Tangpa advises us to reverse such actions and says that whenever we meet people who are ill-tempered, bad-mannered, or who have contagious diseases, we should treat them as if we are discovering a great treasure. When we see such people, let us show great joy at finding them and treat them like a treasure, especially if we are practicing Donglin, the practicing of exchange of giving your good things and receiving the bad of others. Bodhicitta or Donglin practice. I will talk about that more tomorrow because it's extensive. We need to treasure these kasa. If we truly want to tackle our self-grasping, these are the tools which to do it. We need to treasure these tools when we do Donglin meditations, especially when we do the meditation on equalizing and exchanging ourselves with others, which is Donglin. This action will be invaluable. We need to incorporate these meditations into this practice. When I see beings of negative dispositions and with sufferings, may I hold these. Okay, when I come across beings who are oppressed by negative emotions and overwhelmed by their sufferings, may I hold them dear as if I found a precious treasure. I just recited the one I've memorized because I keep getting mixed up. When I come across beings that are oppressed by violent sufferings and overwhelmed by their delusions and bad-tempered and bad-natured, may I hold them as if I found a precious jewel. Why? Because they are more precious than a wish-granting jewel. Why is that? A wish-granting jewel can confer on you some material gains, but not enlightenment. A violent, a negative person or a person that hurts you can confer on you enlightenment. How is that? Because they give you the greatest opportunity to practice patience, compassion and love. And they are the greatest tests to see if you have compassion and love. And if years of meditation and practice have brought any results. Because if you still see them and you feel like you'd rather not see them, what are you chanting on? What are you praying on? Who are you kowtowing to? Who are you praying to? You must be praying to a weird demon on your altar, and you put on the forehead ego, praying and prostrating to ego. So this is the meter in which to check if something disturbs you around you. If someone is doing something that disturbs you, if it disturbs you, it's not them. The fact that it disturbs you shows you that you are disturbed. We look at it from a positive and a more broader perspective or angle. People who are around you, people who do things around you that disturb you tremendously, and you can't help it but to make it known that it disturbs you or react back, shows that you are disturbed. Shows that your self-cherishing mind is so strong and so powerful and so pervasive in your body that you must let the other person know it bothers you, so don't do it. And then we might say, well, I have a good motivation. Oh, in America we say, can it, forget it. The very fact that it disturbs you tells you that you are disturbed. Disturbed by what? That your afflicted emotions are so strong. And your selfish mind is so strong. And your self-grasping mind, that mind that says, I'm important, me, myself, my happiness, my wishes, my concerns, my comfort is more important than you. So I'm going to tell you so. Your dress is ugly. You shouldn't wear that. The way you talk disturbs me. You shouldn't be doing things like that. In fact, 99% of the criticisms, nice or not nice, gentle or not gentle, that we direct at others are because of the self-cherishing mind. The great Atisha, being such an enlightened being, had one monk in Nalanda that hated him. It was an older monk that only saw bad points in Atisha, that criticized him when Atisha gave teachings. He would never attend. When he gave teachings, he would influence others and say, don't go to the teachings. He only saw faults and criticized Atisha over and over and over and tried to make his life difficult in the monastery by criticizing him, influencing others. If it was me, I would have dropped an H-bomb on that monk immediately. But because Atisha practiced these teachings, you know what he did? When the great goddess Tara told Atisha to go to Tibet and teach the Dharma, Atisha invited this monk with him to go to Tibet and sponsored his whole trip over. And do you know why? No, not because Atisha was a fruitcake. Because he wanted to practice patience and love. And this was the best person, because he didn't have enemies. He didn't have anyone that didn't love him. He didn't have people that praised him. Did not have people, because he had only people that praised him. There was only one person that hated him, that constantly criticized him, and that constantly wanted to debase him. So Atisha said, hey, what a golden opportunity. Come along with me to Tibet. And he was there for 13 years with his monk. And this monk criticized Atisha till the last day of his death. And Atisha did the wonderful prayers and ceremony and funeral for this monk to get a good rebirth. At that, I won't tell you what I would have done. In Tibet, they cut up the bodies when you are dead and mince it and mix it with a flour and feed it to the birds as a last act of merit. Hint, hint. I'd cut it up and I wouldn't feed it to the birds, I'd throw it over the hill. Can you imagine this? Atisha invited this ridiculous old crony of a monk. And this monk criticized Atisha. It took, I think, Atisha something like a year to travel over. It's not like here we book SIA and we fly over, ticket or no ticket, right? I mean, they had to walk across India, North India, Nepal, across the Himalayan mountains and down to central Tibet. It's far. It's cold. And at that time, there was a lot of warring factions and dangers and fighting. Sleeping outside in tents and all that stuff. It was not easy. You didn't take showers for days. Here, if you don't take a shower before Dharma talk, you're not comfortable. And this Atisha invited this old monk with him, sponsored his whole trip. Atisha asked his sponsors, his patrons, to pay for his passage, to give him money, give him new robes and supplies, and Atisha himself served this monk all the way. Can you believe it? And this monk only criticized him from beginning to end. Even when Atisha was giving teachings everywhere, this monk caused trouble. He never ever accepted Atisha as a good master. Ever. It didn't matter to him that every single sentient being on this planet accepted Atisha except for him. Atisha had become as famous as Buddha Shakyamuni in Tibet. In fact, we have teachings today, we have scriptures and lineages today because of Atisha. Even the Tara practice is because of Atisha. Offering. Atisha taught us how to make offerings to collect merit. Wealth vases. All of us run to different centers to get wealth vases. The first person to teach how to make wealth vases and to contain their energy to get wealth was Atisha. He was the one that wrote the original Lamrim, etc., etc., etc. He was the one that disseminated the monk vows in Tibet, which spread all over to Mongolia and Tibet. Because he was a pure monk, he made many new monks. This great Lama served and compassionately took care of this old crony of a monk that had nothing but ugly things to say about him to the last day of his life. Even when he died, Atisha took care of his funeral arrangements and personally prayed for his rebirth. Imagine that. And then when we turn the picture to us, when we turn it back to us, you know we ain't going to do that, and we'll think that Atisha is crazy for doing that. But when we look deeper, Atisha saw a golden opportunity to practice patience and love and compassion because there was no one that hated him. He found one person, he said, oh, it's my opportunity. I want to make sure that I destroy the last traces of my negative afflictions so I can become a Buddha to benefit others. That was his motive for taking this monk. When I meet others who are oppressed by violence, sins, and sufferings and overwhelmed by their negative emotions, may I treasure them as if I had found a precious jewel, a precious treasure. That's why. Because they are a precious treasure. They offer you the opportunity to develop the points that you need to become a Buddha. Therefore, when you go to a Dharma center, when you go to the store, when you go to department stores and all that stuff, and you meet funny salespeople, funny waiters, you have funny relatives, you have funny friends, you have funny Dharma brothers and sisters, jump on them, hug them, love them, kiss them, and give them gifts and prostrate to them if you want to be a Buddha. You may think it's ridiculous, but I'm not saying actually physically do that from your mind. Oh my God, what an opportunity to practice the Dharma. Jump on them. Hold their hands and don't let them go. They think you're crazy. Who cares? You'll be a Buddha. That's what Tsongkhapa did. That's why we prayed to him. That's what Atisha did. Think about it. So the next time you meet someone ugly and mean and rude and that only abuses you, you should have a little nasty smirk and say, ooh, how lucky I am. What a golden opportunity. All seriously, you should immediately pray in your heart and say, oh, I will practice these teachings and I will treat that person well. Of course, we can't treat our enemies and people that hurt us well overnight. But let's not keep using that excuse for not practicing this. How many years has it been? Very important. Very, very important. So please think about that. We'll conclude here. Sorry I was a little late, but I think it's all right. We'll finish it off tomorrow night, definitely. And today, the committee members and lots of friends and the monks have worked very hard on preparing the statues and rearranging them, so they look very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. They are contributed by many, many different types of people. This was brought over, this cherish set was brought over from Ganden Shatse Pogan Kamsen. So the Sangha monks there, 250, had presented this to the original committee members to be brought to Malaysia to bless people. So this has very powerful feelings and very powerful mantras inside. And this was blessed and consecrated by the great Laki Rinpoche, the great Khensu Rinpoche, our Rupuru, and the 250 of the great Song Rinpoche, and the 250 Sangha that our program comes in. So this statue of Chetsongkhapa may be small, but it's very powerful. Very, very powerful. So it's on the altar all the way to the right with his two disciples. So the two disciples, the one on the left is Gyatso Rinpoche, the older disciple, who is the regent and the holder of the sutra teachings. The one on the right is Kitru Rinpoche, the younger disciple, who was the holder of the tantric teachings. And when you use tantric energy, you may use afflicted emotions like anger and hatred to tame others. Although you don't have it, you use it to tame others, such as anger. So when you reach a state in Tantra, you can actually shout at people and clear their negative karma. You can beat people to clear their negative karma. And you can use fierce means to purify their karma quickly. So to represent that, the great Kitru Rinpoche has a fierce disposition. His eyes are bulging out. His eyebrows are up. And he shows a fierce disposition. Which means he uses tantric methods to subdue sentient beings. And he was very outspoken. With all due respect, he had a big mouth. Okay, never mind. Brought attention to someone I know, but anyways. He had a big mouth, he was out. Yeah, let me just tell you straight. No offense intended, don't give me any bad dreams tonight. Alright, so he was straightforward, he was outspoken, he had a big mouth, and if he saw something he didn't like, he said it. But remember something. Oh, I'm going to be like Kitru Rinpoche, I'm going to do that. But he had bodhicitta, we don't. So there's a difference here. That's why he shows a fierce disposition. He was known for beating his students. He was known for shouting. And if you didn't learn the Dharma well, he would scold you for hours and hours. So he was immortalized with fierce energy. But guess what? He became a Buddha in the end. Because his motive was enlightened. So actually, Kitru Rinpoche was an embodiment of the great Vajrapani. He was an emanation on earth of Vajrapani, the Buddha of Katsa. The Buddha of power and destruction of obstacles. On the left is Gyatso Rinpoche in his gentle old form. He was an emanation of Kuan Yin. And Tsongkhapa himself is the emanation of Manjushri solely, along with that Kuan Yin and Jinggamposa. So these three are Riksum Gombo emanated. Riksum Gombo means three different types of enlightened mind. Power, compassion, and wisdom. So this is incredible. This is very, very blessed. So the center statue, which since time is short, is the great incomparable Tsongkhapa. We had the great fortune to order from Delhi, and a group of my friends, if they allow me to say their names, from Cheras. Some of them are present here. Mr. Kenny Wong, Mr. Thantek Ching, Mr. and Mrs. Yong Kong Meng, Mr. and Mrs. Kenny Wong, Mr. and Mrs. Thantek Ching, Mr. and Mrs. Yong Kong Meng, Mr. and Mrs. Chai, who are here, and what's our last one? Mr. and Mrs. Wang Ji Leong. These 5 people combined their money, gave it to me to sponsor this beautiful statue of Tsongkhapa for our beautiful center. So 3 of the sponsors out of 5 are here. So this is what we have ordered from India. So they're very kind to us, and they have given the opportunity to us to collect merits, to view something beautiful, and to make offerings. So I thank you all very much, these people here, and please tell our friends that they have and they're wonderful because they've given me this money months and months ago. Never did they call it, what happened to Tsongkhapa? No, I'm just kidding. But they're very, very kind, and this is the beautiful statue that we have brought from India with holy mantras inside. So we had just finished it today. The altar's not finished. We're going to add some more things to it, and then we'll make it more and more beautiful. We'll talk about it more and more and more. In 1992, the Kasa, the Manjushri and the Tara was brought over, and it was sponsored by the original committee members, led by Mr. Kaur, who purchased it for the center here. So this was our original statues. Then Shakyamuni Buddha was collected from a long list of sponsors who put their money together, and I was able to purchase that for that reason. And then Kasa, the 1,000-arm Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin Posa was donated to us by the very kind friend who's in Australia, Mr. Percy Chen. So that was donated by him, so it's here. And then these statues here, Vajrasattva and Kuan Yin, that comes to my memory, I think it's correct. It was donated by the very kind, one of my friends, Uncle David's wife, which is Miss Judith Pan. So she's very, very kind. She donated to us, and it's here for the worship for others. And that beautiful Buddha Shakyamuni that's all the way on the left, the smaller one, was given to us with great blessings and prayer by His Eminence, Ganjin Tulku. So that is highly blessed because it's from a highly realized Lama. So our altar, and then there's many things that many people contributed. We'll go slowly over. Otherwise, we'll be here till tomorrow. So all the people mentioned and unmentioned, they're very kind, and I thank them for all their contributions. And even the simple people that come and even sweep the floor, I thank them. They're very, very kind. We have a wonderful center, and the environment is clean, the environment is good, and everybody respects each other. I think that we are all very lucky to be able to share this time together. All right? So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to rethink and rehash on the teachings of the 8 verses of thought transformation, thought transformation. 8 verses of changing the mind, reversing the negative mind. And all of you have been so attentive, and all of you have been paying attention so well, showing that you're so virtuous and you really would like to practice this. So I implore you and ask all of you, please, we have come up to stanza number 4, isn't it? 4. We have only 5 left. I ask you to please read over the stanzas every day as a daily practice. Incorporate it into your meditations and recontemplate on it. If possible, if you cannot remember everything, perhaps you can get tapes from the center to go over and over again. I'm not trying to implant my ridiculous voice into your mind stream, but I want you to hear the words and not to forget. These practices are the core. If you practice this practice alone and nothing else, you can gain enlightenment. This is the most profound. This is essence. This is the heart of Buddha's teachings. So I ask you, out of deep respect for all of you, not to say that you are not practicing or you should practice because you're bad, not on those bases, but these are so important and so meaningful for everyone. So I implore you and ask all of you to please read it over every day, and with time definitely will be memorized, and when a certain situation arises, that line will come into your minds, guaranteed, and then you will be able to practice and advance and advance and advance. So please don't go home, never look at it, never think about it again, and just comment that, oh, it was a good talk, it was interesting, blah, 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 blah. Those are of no use. Please practice. Please practice. So in order to embed that into our minds, let's please do one short round on the Manjushri mantra in order that we can get the blessings of the Buddha of wisdom, that we may penetrate the meaning of what has been taught, and that it will sink into our minds, and that we can remember and practice it. So we will ask the great Wensu Posa, or Manjushri, this is the Bodhisattva on the right, or you can focus on Tsongkhapa because he's Manjushri anyways, that you may be able to understand these teachings. Please think like that very hard while I recite the holy verses to Manjushri. And in fact, this verse that I'm going to recite on Manjushri, which is in the Wisdom Center prayers, is very special because at one time someone came to Nalanda Monastery, a sponsor, and asked the Holy Sangha to compose, abbot to compose the holy prayer on Manjushri praise. So the abbot announced it to all the great lamas of Nalanda Monastery, which was thousands of monks, and they all went back, prayed to Manjushri, the scholars and meditation masters, and they all composed the prayer. When they came back, no one had talked to each other, all the prayers were exactly the same. So the amazing part was Manjushri had blessed them to write this prayer. It's short, it's easy, it's excellent, and it's very, very good for children and for intelligence. So this prayer that I'm about to recite, which is very short and very beautiful, in English so you can understand it, was written by these great Panditas together at the same time, not consulting each other, yet it came out exactly the same. So this is the history of this, a short history without details. Homage to Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Obeisance to my Guru and protector Manjushri, who are one in nature, who holds his heart a scriptural text symbolic of seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth like the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with a loving compassion of a father for his only child. All creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering, you whose dragon, thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusions and frees us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, healing down suffering where it was found superior, Clear away the darkness of ignorance. You whose princely body is adorned with the 112 marks of a Buddha, who has completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a Bodhisattva, who has been pure from the beginning, I bow down to you, Manjushri. Oma Arabazanali, 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 Oma Arabaz I bow down to you, O Manjushri, with the brilliance of your wisdom, O compassionate one. Illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind. Enlighten my intelligence and wisdom so that I may gain insight into the Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. So, at the end of Manjushri's paper, whether you do 1 round, 2 rounds, or 3 rounds, at the end of those rounds, you should take a deep breath and recite the C syllable or the last syllable 100 times on one breath. So, if you train that, it moves the chi in your body in a way that it enters the meridians or the channels that increase wisdom, that increase memory, that increase perception and understanding, especially toward something that is high and beneficial like the Dharma. So at the end, you take a deep breath in, and then you recite the mantra, the last word, di. Clearly, and pronounce it, enunciate it clearly, di, 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 1 round. And then you finish. It's very, very powerful for increasing wisdom. Of course, because Rinpoche said so, we go home and we hold our breath and we recite it and then we fall over blue? No. The first time, you do several rounds. You do di-di-di-di-di, di-di-di-di, and then it develops, definitely. But of course, when people are watching you, if you have not heard the 8 worldly concerns, you pretend you're holding your breath. You're not holding or doing anything, or that just go like that. And then, that's if you've not heard the 8 worldly concerns. You go like that, like that. And then when you finish, you go like... Isn't that wonderful? But if you've heard the 8 worldly concerns, at first, no problem. Don't think Manjushri will take a sword and hit you and say, stupid, can't even hold your breath. Alright? So that's very, very important. Thank you very much for allowing me to give you a talk. Thank you very much. Please, everyone here, please attend tomorrow's talk, and so that I can just start with the material and not reiterate what we taught the first day and today, so it saves time and we can finish. All right. So tomorrow's the last of it. On Saturday, 7:30 at night, isn't it? 7:30 at night, I will be giving the teachings of the Guru Yoga of Dzongkhapa. I don't know if I can complete it or not because it's quite extensive. It needs a few days, but I'll go through it easily, and then at another time I'll go through it more extensively. And on Sunday we'll be doing a Zambala Puja, not initiation, where we'll make a lot of balls together. The monks have prepared the balls together, and we'll all be able to pray and recite a mantra and throw a torma or a cake to Zambala to ask for economic growth for the regions that are suffering. So at 3 o'clock we'll be doing a Zambala Puja, and I'll give a short talk on the meaning of Zambala. and then we'll finish before dinner. So you can all go home, take a shower, relax Sunday night. And then on Sunday, after the teachings, I will be taking off for Singapore, and then going to China. And so these few days, with all due respect to everyone, to old friends and new friends, please forgive me. I will not be taking interviews because there's a lot of things to do at the center. After China, when I come back, I will be taking interviews, seeing my friends, going out, shopping, we go eat, whatever. Alright? So these few days, treat my attendants and my people and my friends and committee with great compassion. It is not them that's not letting you see me. It is me that's not letting you see me, and maybe I'm doing you a favor. So after that, I'll definitely take interviews, and we'll start our regular program. All right? We'll do the dedication verses. May all sentient beings be free from unhappiness. May all sentient beings be free from the causes of unhappiness, and may all sentient beings reside in peace and happiness, and may become stable. By learning the holy verses taught originally by Buddha on 8 verses of training the mind, may I be able to put these practices into full execution. May I be able to practice it 100%. Please bless me, I dedicate these virtues, that I may be able to practice this, and therefore may I, by practice, not by my mouth, pass it on to others. May I inspire others to practice this. By practicing this, may I become a fully enlightened being. May all the great masters of all religious traditions and all the great masters of the different traditions of Buddhism have long life, health, and excellence. May their centers, may their temples, may their synagogues, may their mosques all grow and expand and be able to bring a benefit to others. May the economic situation in these countries grow so that people's sufferings are mitigated, therefore they can practice Dharma. May everyone become a fully enlightened being, and all the effort that we made toward coming and listening and engaging in Dharma, we dedicate that we may become a fully enlightened being. Please think like that while I recite the holy verses that mean exactly what I described to you. Rinpoche, Thank you very much. See you tomorrow night at 7:30. Thank you very much.
A couple of small announcements. Number one, the mala bags. Miss Auntie Yo has already introduced to you just now. I'll just repeat what she said. These mala bags are sponsored by Workwear. Because they are very beautiful, bearing the logo of Wisdom Center. So they are being, you can have them and making an offering, I would say a contribution of $15 each. It comes in two colors. One is maroon red, beautiful maroon red, and the other one is royal blue, I may just say. And the color royal blue. The proceeds of the offering of $15 each will go towards the offering of dana to the 4 monks who are staying with us. Of course, for those who are interested to offer dana to the monks or the sanghas, you may please contact Mrs. Ma or Mrs. Kaur. So otherwise, if you do not have the time, you may contribute towards that through buying these mala bags. You can buy them for yourself. Also, you can present them as gifts to your Dharma friends, or you can even buy them and offer them to Rinpoche, who will be going to Beijing next week, and you can request Rinpoche to present these bags to Dharma friends in Beijing. So we are therefore spreading Dharma all the way to Beijing. I think that will be a wonderful way of practicing Dharma too. The next item on the list, you probably have seen the beautiful protector's room. We will be decorating it with plants. Hopefully, of course, we can get some live ones. If not, we will have artificial one as well. I'm sure Rinpoche will explain to us why we need greens, flowers, and so on, surrounding the protector later on. But for the time being, what we understand is protector will be at best in the environment filled with plants and greeneries. So one of the project is to have the 2 walls in the protector's room painted with lots of greens, flowers, and waterfall. So making it a beautiful and very conducive environment for the protector. So we are now making a request and appeal to artists or talented artists who can come forward to help us to paint the mural. So can I have a show of hand of those who are good at it or who are talented in this work? Alternatively, if you know of teachers or artists who are good at it, please let me or let Mr. Kaur or any one of the committee members know, so that we can coordinate the efforts and make that a beautiful contribution. We will obviously, of course, defray the cost of all this.
了解嘛，那罗军军呢，抓不起来，那个位。
As I explained the first night and the second night, before any type of Dharma activity, we should all have an unexcelled good motivation and develop a good wish for attending a Dharma talk, or listening to a Dharma, practicing the Dharma, and having anything to do with the Dharma. So it's very important to have an unexcelled motivation. So I've explained that yesterday and the day before fully in detail. So what I've explained yesterday and the day before, please keep in your minds and think, may I have that motivation free of the 8 worldly concerns. And then before we actually start to talk, we'll do some prayers, or in other words, some chanting, invoking the blessings of the 3 jewels, invoking the blessings of the great Buddha in the center with the yellow hat, Tsongkhapa, and the great goddess Tara way on the right. And in fact, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and deities. So while I do the holy verses, in order to save time, then you all concentrate along, and you can focus on the mitzvah prayers that I do very quickly. Since there's so many beautiful flowers and offerings, I'll bless the offerings first, do the verses of blessing, and offer it to the Buddhas in order to collect merit for everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Besa Samavadine Tadakataya Aya Samasama Buddhaya Teyada Om Besa Besa Mahabesa Mahabesa Besa Mahabesa Besa Mahabodhijita Besa Mahabodhi Muto Pasa Gamana Besa Savagama Varana Visudane Besa Yesoha Om Namo Bhagavate Besa Samavadine Tadakataya Aya Samasama Buddhaya Teyada Om Besa Besa Mahabesa Mahabesa Besa Mahabesa Besa Mahabodhijita Besa Mahabodhi Mado Pasa Gamana Besa Savagama Varana Visudane Besa Yesoha Kunjo Sugi Jemada Sanji Zangzhan Jise Ase Ma Zangje Ki Jelada Suni Yusu Sube Mati Jemada Shuji Yen Nama Ane Sanji Mika Beto Gi Deshi Ni Du Jue Chi Nama Dema Chumne De Deshi Pada Juma Yang Nabe Sobe Sanji Pega Vasha Yotuba Vacha Sanji Kesa Shiro Shudu Jiji Ma Du So Guru Master Bhagavan Tadakata Arya, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, to you I prostrate, go for refuge in the offerings. Please grant your inspiration. 这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈，这呀达唵摩尼摩尼玛摩尼释迦牟尼耶娑哈。가대 화지 고지 가대 화지 고지 누가네 아가 주서 세노 세노니 너제 나마 세데 베데 지요 제제 나마 제베 소마지 나로 데베 소나 신요도 데마 게제 가죠 조소 시시 주문 자외 노르도 하나마에 자제 대제소 다베 베제 화메 세베 그 데데 다데 데데 라자자 여 제제 나소 데소나 제제 데베 나소 데소나 모자이 그게 그게 나소니 너 지수제 라제와 마시고는 데네 사바에 나마이 지지베 제제 개와도와 수제 미소쇼 해네 저과 잡아 소소쇼 이메 되게 만들 정화제 제제 공대 전제 제시 공보 제제 라제 세바 다자 사바 다베게랑 제세 나마 나바 제나주 제가 가마 제제 지세네 지사 상제 가제 세바 수제 제게 잡아 도스 나를 세계를 지마요 스조도다 전도메 아야 나마함을 종교라마요 세계화대 메뉴天화쇼 다기진의 사비경원이 전도조와 변화권대도 경화 제서노선 자보에 내배인 고른 도세제 Yo
Who can come here? There's lots of space now. The new people can come. Left, hold your space for 3. 1 here. Come. Come sit here. Sit here. The lady that just walked in. Come here. Okay, then this is our third and final day on the 8 verses of transforming the mind by the great Bodhisattva Ishi Langikamba. So before I proceed with that, I would again like to stress and talk about for a few minutes on motivation, and then proceed with it. So very, very important. Very, very important. When the doctor gives up on me, when rituals and pujas no longer work, when friends have given up hope for my life, when anything I do is futile, may I be blessed to remember my Guru's instructions, the great pension model. So, what is he talking about? In the beginning, in the end, in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, and finally in the end, nothing matters except for our Guru's instructions. And what is our Guru's instructions? Our Guru's instructions is to practice the Dharma. What is exactly practicing the Dharma? The practicing the Dharma is exactly transforming our mind from negative states of afflictions and emotions to positive states as much as we can. So, when doctors give up hope on my life, when my whole life I can go to doctors to get well when I become ill, but when it comes time that doctors have no effect on my health anymore, or my life, when pujas and rituals which usually extend life and help life no longer work because merits have finished, when friends that have usually gone out to eat with, had parties with, socialized with, called every day, worked together, etc., can be no help to me at all, even though they would like to be of the greatest help and they have great concern for us, and they give up hope on our life. When anything I do is futile, anything, nothing matters at all anymore. At this time, which is the most critical and the most crucial, may I be blessed to remember the holy instructions of my Guru. That was written by His Holiness the Great Panchen Rinpoche. So, those verses actually sum up the total motive and the total reason to practice the Dharma. So when we practice the Dharma, everything leads to that point. In fact, everything, whether we practice the Dharma or not in life, leads to that very point. What's that very point? The very crucial moment when we are leaving our bodies. When the 8 dissolutions of death occur, dissolutions. When the earth, water, fire, and wind elements start to dissolve step by step by step. When we start losing the power of our saliva, the power of our sight, the power of our nose, smell, tactile feeling, and gross physical or gross spine. When all that is coming, then nothing is going to be of help to us anymore. So whether we are attractive or we are not attractive, whether we have been supposedly great Dharma practitioners or not, whether we have received initiation or not, whether we have a root guru or not, whether we have met the Dharma or not, whether we have recited 20 or 40 or 50 million mantras or not, at the time of death is a crucial point. And at that crucial point, that dangerous point, and that very, very scary point, nothing is left except for the karma that is awaiting us. So if we have done many good actions in relations to friends, that will be awaiting for us. If we have done many good actions in relating to other sentient beings, that will be awaiting us. If we have done many negative actions for the sake of friends, and many negative actions for the sake of foes or enemies, that will still be awaiting for us. It will not ripen, those deeds will not ripen upon anyone else, and that karma or the karmic imprints cannot be taken away by anyone else. So at that time, the only way we can remember the Guru's instruction is that if in this life, before that state comes, we have actually practiced what the Guru has said. And when I say when we have practiced what the Guru has said, I am not talking the physical entrapments or the physical outer motions and acting and physical outer kind of superficial practices. I'm talking about actual mental transformation. So if we have gone through many motions of Dharma practice and many supposed actions and superficial actions of Dharma practice, such as reciting mantras, visiting holy places, sitting at the root of our teachers, listening to Dharma talks, meditation, reading Lamrim, doing sadhanas, engaging in retreats. If we have done many of those superficial things, from the time we have started Dharma up till now, we have to check one thing. Has the afflictive emotions in our mind lessened? Has the afflictive emotions in our mind become less and less and less? And we should check, what is our most afflictive emotion? Is it hatred? Is it jealousy? Is it anger? Is not accepting other people's ways? Is it pride? Is it arrogance? We need to check which one is the most strongest of our emotional afflictions that compel us to constantly act in ways that harm others, endanger others, and ourselves. So we need to check, are those afflictive emotions lessened? Have they lessened? Have they become smaller or not? Have they remained the same or have they enlarged? If they have enlarged or remained the same, we have to ask ourselves, where did all the chanting go? Where did all the retreats go? Where did all the prayers and meditations go? Where did all the mandala offerings and study go? Where did it go? We have to practice the Dharma not as a social event, not as something to preoccupy our lonely time, not as something to do because we have nothing else to do, not because it's pleasant and it's nice, not because it's wonderful to hear, not because it's the truth. We should practice it not on any of those superficial motives, but we should practice Dharma, in fact, to change ourselves. So Dharma, another word for it is method. Method for what? Method for removing the negative emotional afflictions. If the negative emotional afflictions are not removed, what Dharma are we practicing? What Dharma is it that we are actually engaging in? We have to be very, very strict and tight and contemplative on ourselves. And we have to check closely and we have to examine minutely within ourselves. Because life, time, energy is going by so fast and passing by so fast, almost unaccountable. But is the time passing by with Dharma or without Dharma? And when I say that, we must look even deeper. When I say with Dharma, does it mean with transformation or without transformation? If we are stuck on mantras, rituals, prayers, if we are stuck on meditations, teachings, retreats, if we are stuck on visiting and going to holy places, yet the mind never ever changes, we have to examine why. We have to check why. We have to check why, and we have to check it immediately. We must not delay, and we must not be comfortable in that we are not changing and transforming. Very, very important. So, therefore, we should practice the Dharma in order to become a fully enlightened being, to become the utmost benefit to others and ourselves. So if that's the case, we have to check. And when we check what's our motive or how our Dharma practices have advanced, we have to check it with certain guidelines. So one of the greatest guidelines that we can check with is the 8 mundane concerns. Are we practicing the Dharma for the sake of the 8 mundane concerns? If we are practicing with the 8 mundane concerns, our Dharma practice will not bear fruit. It is merely actions, and also it does not create merit, but karma. Karma is actions that result in good samsaric rebirth and good samsaric results. Merits are actions that result in full enlightenment. So when we do any actions that has a pure Dharma motive free of the 8 worldly concerns, we are collecting merits, and those lead to enlightenment. If we are doing Dharma actions such as making offerings, serving the Guru, taking care of centers, donating to Sangha, raising funds for charity, etc., etc., meditations and mantras, if we are doing it with any of the 8 worldly concerns, any, not all, but even one, the actions that we do will not fruition into enlightenment, but it will be classified under good karma, and it will result in having good rebirth in samsara. For example, if you make many offerings to the 3 jewels, the act itself does not equate it to be Dharma. It is the motive. So, when we make offerings to the 3 jewels, and our motive is to impress other people of how religious we are and how beautiful our offerings are, or if we make offerings to show off our wealth, or if we make offerings in order that we may get wealth and we may be free from poverty, you have created karma. That action is not wasted, but has not been used for the total potential that it can bear. So when you make offerings with the intention of any of the 8 worldly concerns, it equates to be karma. And that action will lead to you, in this life and future lives, getting wealth, having less problems in regards to receiving material things that you need to live. But it stops there. Whereas if you make offerings to the 3 jewels, candles and water and flowers and fruits, etc., with the motivation that is free of the 8 worldly concerns, which is, may I gain bodhicitta, may I destroy my afflicted emotions, may I gain bodhicitta, may I gain full enlightenment, then that act will equal to merits. So in Tibetan, the word merit and karma is different. So in English, since Tibetan Buddhism, or Buddhism itself, Buddhistic terms, is not standardized yet, we get mixed up with merit and karma. Oh, if you do that, you get good merits. But there's a big difference. So I'm making a differentiation tonight regarding karma and merits, because there's a differentiation in the Tibetan words, in the Sanskrit words. So therefore, when you do any type of actions,